Hello and welcome back to the building of the Ben Buckle Falcon. It's been a few weeks since I've last did an update on this build, mainly because of the festive period, and also I was distracted by building a little vintage model, the Mini Playboy. But it's time to turn my attention back to building the last component, and that's the fuselage. The wings and the tail feathers have been built, and the wings are quite a sight to behold, all 8 foot of them. But now it's time to turn my attention to this component, the fuselage. And the purpose of this video is to discuss the source of power they're intended to use. Now, for a long time, I've mulled over this. The original called for a spark ignition engine, which sort of dates the design back to 1937. When it went by the name of the Cloud Cruiser, and it was later repackaged as the Falcon by Keelcraft. I had considered actually putting an electric motor in, and with that in mind, I'd sourced out of my stash this, which is a Turnigy 5055 with a KV of 430. It's from a very large foam Warbird, and obviously I have the ESC there, 100 amp, and all the paraphernalia that goes with it. I'm not averse to the idea of having electric powered vintage models. In fact, I've got 2 already in the hangar. One is the Ben Buckle Elf, a vintage biplane, quite an unusual design, and the other is a more common model. It's very dear to me, came from a friend who's passed away, and that is the Junior 60, both of which run on 3S, and they provide great entertainment and great fun. However, I think the building of this Falcon does call for the sound of an IC engine. If not a spark ignition, then certainly a 4-stroke. And that's why this model is on the table. So a little bit of background to this. I purchased this model about 2 years ago now, not long after I'd started flying model aircraft, and way before I was ever capable of flying something like this. It's actually a scratch built. I believe it's a Hawker Demon. It's not built from any plans, because there are no plans available for a model of this size, or rather it's been scaled up from a set of plans to double the original size, and this is the result. Now, when I got this model, I was by no means capable of flying it. I was really attracted to it because of the engine. That being said, for some reason, I've never actually bonded with it. It has all the features that I normally like in a model. It's a scale model. It's vintage, built in the 1930s, and it's a biplane. However, I don't know why. Perhaps it's because it needed no work on it. As I got it, it's fairly well built. In fact, all I needed to do was add a receiver to it, and she's been ready to go. Despite all of that, I've never felt the urge to fly her. That might change in the future. I think the main reason is because it isn't my own work. And while I actually enjoy renovating old models, I like to have to do something to them. At the same time I purchased this model, I also purchased the Fokker D7. But that needed a lot of work to get it to flying condition. The whole front end had gone, needed rebuilding. All the radio installation had been done incorrectly. It's a cable system, and it was slack as hell. It didn't work at all. So I had to put some effort in to get that right. So I feel more of a bond to that, and it flies beautifully. It's a flare kit. This one, I just don't feel it. However, the engine will see airtime, and that's because I intend putting it into the Falcon. Let's have a closer look. So, this is the engine. It's a OS 4-stroke 91 Surpass. Now, this is at the limit in size that the Falcon is designed for. It says on the box that it's designed for a 60 to 90 four-stroke, and most of the models that I've seen flying have used a 60 four-stroke engine of one description or another. I have actually found one that runs on electric, and it's about the size of the motor that I showed you before. But as I said, in this occasion, I think it really does cry out for a four-stroke engine. When I got the engine, I felt that there was no compression on it. In fact, now it doesn't feel like there's any compression on it. And I thought I'd bought a dud. So despondently, I put it to one side and left it. And then one day I decided to just try it for what the hell, see if I could take it apart and find out what it was. But before I did that, I put the glow lead on, put some fuel in it and give it a flick. And it started immediately. In fact, it purred. So what I'm going to do now is to just insert a little clip of the engine running. Here we go, this is the engine that's going to go into the Falcon. Pleased with that, that'll do the job. Well, as you can see, there's no problem there. So it's going to go into this fuselage. And now that I have an engine, there's nothing to stop me getting started. It looks more complicated than it is, as is often the case with these vintage designs. It starts life as a slab-sided structure. These are stringers added later in the construction. The only awkward bit I can see is that this part, the cabin part, is added on after the main sides are built, and it goes on as a unit, because actually in the other view it actually comes in somewhat and tapers in, so it cannot be built all in one piece side on. So this part here will actually have to be built separately. But it'll be an interesting build, and I'll chronicle that. So it's time to crack on. New year, not a new project, but time to finish off a big project. If you can get flying, get out there and fly. I was fortunate to be able to get a couple of flying sessions in last week. It was great to do so after the lousy weather we've been having in the northeast of England, in fact most of the country. But if you can't get flying, get building. I promise you that even if it's a small project, you're going to have some great fun out of making something yourself and seeing it work. So until then, bye for now, take care.